This is the Watchman giving a clarion call. And I want to follow up with the last video we did on the bombing that happened in Syria, because this Syrian issue is not going away. In fact, it's becoming deeper and more complex and more dangerous as the days go on. There have been some good signs and some good things said, but there have also been some seriously dangerous and disturbing plans that have been laid out by people consolidating power within the Trump administration. And I want to go over that today. It seems what we're looking at is that in the very last few weeks, the new people that have been elevated in the Trump administration have started to try to force out all the populists, all the America Firsters, all the MAGA folks, people like Steve Bannon, people like Katie McFarland on the NCS, National Security Council, who just was forced to step down. By the way, all these allies of Trump who stood with him and his America First agenda are one by one being sniped and taken off, stripped of their power, so that they can ultimately alienate Trump himself and separate him from all the America First allies that he picked or brought with him into this administration. Now, this coup started with Mike Flynn, of course. He was the original head of the NSC, and that is why the deep state targeted him first. Okay, they unmasked him and his phone calls with Russia because on top of the neocon deep state agenda was kicking the hornet's nest again in Syria, with Russia, with China, and Flynn wasn't about that, nor was Trump at that point in time. They are both about peace, dialogue, negotiations, even if they're tough negotiations with these countries. They were about a sane foreign policy because that benefits us here in the U.S. Well, that's why they took Flynn out first. And since they've been doing that, they've been trying to sideline or take out all the other allies. And now, and I'll give credit where it's due, now we find out, thanks to Mike Cernovich and a few others, they broke a story about what Trump's new NSC head, McMaster, and some of his other neocon allies are pushing for directly to President Trump. They don't just want tactical, surgical airstrikes on bases, on airports. What they want is boots on the ground. They want direct invasion. They want regime change. They want between 50 and 150,000 troops. Brothers, 150,000 troops is a full-scale invasion. It is Iraq 2.0, okay? Or I guess Iraq 3.0, since there's already been two Iraq wars, both equally disastrous. Now, it's important here to note that Bannon and others who have pointed out this plan of McMaster's are being sidelined by McMaster and his allies. And guess who, this is the plot twist, guess who his ally is in all this? It is none other than General Petraeus. Yes, former CIA head, four-star general, General Petraeus, has been brought back into the limelight out of nowhere. And Mike Cernovich was right on this because he reported that it was Petraeus and McMaster who were whispering in Trump's ear over and over and over again that we needed boots on the ground, and they were pushing numbers of between 50 and 150,000 troops. Now, General Petraeus, if you'll remember, is that man who who got in trouble with his lover that he took because who was his biographer. While she was writing stories about him, they kind of became an item. And he couldn't keep secrets from her, and he blabbed all these huge national security secrets to to this, liaison with him. So basically, the man who couldn't keep it in his pants is now advising Trump that America shouldn't keep our own missiles in America's pants. Now he wants to launch missiles hither and thither and ground troops, just as he carelessly, recklessly launched secret after secret after secret, whispering in the ears of this woman that he was sleeping with while he was on duty. He should be in prison, but instead he is like the second most powerful military advisor to the President of the United States. So, this is where we are. And we have to understand that people like Kushner, people like Ivanka, people like McMaster and all these other people who are crowding in, who are urging Trump to reject America first, to reject national populism in exchange for centrism, saying that this will be the way forward for Trump, that centrism is the only way that he will win. Well, brothers and sisters, centrism is BS. Centrism is how we got here. Okay, centrism just means a normie who doesn't know anything about what's going on behind the scenes and who doesn't want to rock the boat about anything. Just keep us on this trajectory for going over the cliff and try not to upset people. Try not to say upsetting things. Centrism is nonsense. The center must fall for progress to be made. The center is not a guardian of freedom. It is a guardian of the establishment. It is a guardian of globalism. It is a guardian of banksterism. It is a guardian of America last. Okay? If we are ever to reclaim our destiny, we must smash centrism. And something much, much better must replace it. So these terrible advisors are saying on one hand, yes, please start this war. Please drop these bombs, like, the Moab bomb and, dropped in the middle of Nowheresville, Afghanistan. They are advocating more and more strikes. The people like Bannon, who used to have the ear of the president, are being sidelined. This is not a good sign. All right, Katie McFarland and others, they are being chased out of the hens are being shooshed out of the hen house, and the foxes, the jackals, the hyenas are replacing them. The same no-count criminals who killed countless people for the last 10 years are taking their place. They are the ones who don't care one whit for Trump. I mean, these people don't care about Trump. They're advising him not in Trump's interest and not in my interest or your interests, but in their own interest and in their master's interests. And I got to be honest with you, if this trajectory keeps going, it could end up in huge conflict. But I want to say before I stop, there are some excellent signs though. Because people like in the alt media and the alt-right and other places, because they've gotten these stories out, because we've all worked together to expose what the agenda is, to expose Petraeus, to expose McMaster, to expose their desire for a new Iraq war of regime change in another country. Now they've been forced to come out in the open with it much earlier than they were wanting. Admit that it's true. And also admit that this is not what President Trump actually wants. He said the other day in a news conference that we are not going in to Syria. Now that seems to have been in response to incredible pressure by all those folks out there listening just like you, who were so angry, who felt so incensed, who felt so betrayed by that strike in Syria, that you raised your voices on Twitter, that you called the White House, that you said, hey, I am a Trump voter. I stuck with you, okay, but my support is conditional. This is not a cult. This is not, this is not a cheerleading squad. This is contractual. You sold us, Mr. Trump, on a vision of America first. Then you laid out what the policies to get us there looked like. And you told the White House if those policies are violated systemically from bottom to top, there is no agreement anymore and there is no more alliance. You're on your own. So you can choose to, continue this pace, this course in Syria, but we will not be with you, and you could be in serious trouble at re-election time. I think Trump got that message. And I think his statement was intended to reassure us that it was, a show of force. I don't support it. Now, let's hope that's what it was. I still don't support it, but let's both be honest with you. It is not a full-on disaster yet. Okay, they're still carrying out bombing runs. In fact, another bombing run today in Syria reportedly hit an ISIS chemical weapons plant, releasing toxic chemical fumes that killed hundreds of Syrian civilians. Surprise, surprise, just like what happened when Assad carried out a bombing run, 10 days ago. He was carrying out what Russia says was a regular bombing run, but hit a cache of illegal, ISIS-held weapons in ISIS-held territory. Now, it's funny because now the U.S. government's led strikes have done the exact same thing that they condemned Assad for. So it looks more likely than ever that Russia's claims about it being an accidental incident are plausible, are true, because it just happened to the latest U.S. strike as well. We have to raise our voices, and we have to keep raising them loudly. Trump needs to hear, his administration needs to hear from all those who supported him conditionally that we want him to stop these wars, that we don't mind tough negotiations. We don't mind keeping the enemies of the U.S. Of sovereignty off balance. But for God's sake, we don't support randomly flinging 60 warheads into a newest Baskin Robbins 31 flavors of the month country each week. I mean, that is a recipe for isolation, disaster, and full-on military conflict with the BRICS alliance, with the Eurasian alliance, with this burgeoning Eastern anti-U.S. hegemon bloc. If you want to run into a huge war with them, this is the perfect path to take. We, in the mainstream media, you got to be prepared to be slimed by these people. They are already saying that all the people who oppose war, oppose murder, oppose, doing things that aren't in our interest, they are saying that we are quote unquote racist, that we're sexist, that we are these awful people. Apparently, being anti-war or at least anti-murder and aggression is now racist. This is more proof racist is a meaningless word. Just ignore the word racist. Like, it's just anything that the left hates, and that's you. If you do anything, if you cross any line of theirs, they'll call you this meaningless term. Ignore it, charge full bore, and insist every day that Trump obey his mandate, okay, that he secure the border, build the wall, build up our infrastructure, repatriate our jobs, and put our interests first. Because if you do that and you make it a lifestyle and you encourage others to do likewise, and don't give in to despair, don't give in to hopelessness. It's far from that. The war has not broken out, and he is taking steps away from it. Continue to make your voice heard. Together, you and I, we can help him steer back in the right direction. Perhaps. It's a small chance, but we have to take it. All right, that is the pathway you have to take. No matter what Trump will do, you have to do the right thing. So keep doing that, because there's evidence that he's hearing it and that it is making a real impact on White House policy. It can save lives. The life it might save might be your own one day. So keep it up. We'll keep them on our toes, and we will keep fighting back and exposing these awful plans of these neocon globalist generals who are trying to sell, the populist dream of America first down the river, and Trump with it. This is the Watchman signing off. Stay vigilant and bring the fight to them.